I know you came for the meta builds, but please let me quickly explain a few things so you can get an accurate portrayal on how I present my findings. But if you think you are Mr. Know-It-All and you don't need my help, skip to the timestamp on the screen right now. For the example I'm going to show you, I'm going to be using the dual magic greatsword build, which is not meta at all and kind of sucks. Here's an example of what the page would look like for each build. Here you will find the build's title along with the suggested race, guild, and the progression type. On the left you will find my equipped armors and the statistics that you should average. On the right you will find my recommended infused armor pieces. Note that the individual part type, like the chest piece, pants, and hat, doesn't matter. And below I will show the weapons that I have equipped. After the build demonstration, I will show you the stats. The higher the price, the harder it is to get. The higher the DPS is the highest DPS you can possibly get. The effectiveness of the single target is how good it is outside of firing into a crowd. And the higher quality of life includes self-healing, speed, and protection. And finally, the higher chance to be nerfed by the devs is another way to say how broken the build is. As you can see, the Magic Greatsword, although good against bosses like Queen Bee, is useless in crowds. And because it's slow, can't heal, and is very weak overall, it has low and poor quality of life. Okay, now that you're all caught up, let's move on to the first build. This build is insane and most likely the best on the list. All you need to do is spam the Hex Tentacles for countless sand tornadoes at scale of wind to appear, stunning and dealing damage to the enemy. This works awesome in crowds. All the enemies can't even hit you. It ultimately falls short though of singular damage, as when you need it most, against bosses, you're going to have trouble spamming the tornadoes against the enemy's attacks, which aren't affected by the stunning. This makes bosses significantly harder compared to flying through the beginner waves. It can hit Queen Bee though as she's summoning, so it's still pretty good there. Poison Rev is currently my favorite, as it's much easier to get than the Cacti King. It builds upon using the previously nerfed Bleed build and makes it poisonous. The perks combine to inflict poison and heal yourself, and because it's a speedy build, it makes for extremely high quality of life. Even if Rev is a bit pricey, the total damage makes up for being incredibly good in every situation. It might be nerfed a bit in devs in the future though. This build is most likely the easiest to get, as most pieces can be substituted or forgotten about. This build brings the Retaliate weapon to its max potential, by releasing a humongous explosion. It has the highest DPS, but it does come at the cost of a bad constant DPS, making it terrible in the face of bosses. Even if you heal a bunch from Vampire, the lone survivors of your nuke will finish you off, and we can't even talk about Lord Frog. But because of this build is so easy to come by for its DPS, I expect it to be nerfed soon. This build used to allow me to get 10,000 DPS before its nerf. Now it's not so good, but because it is a healer, it will do very well with other people. The build became worse due to the devs decreasing the chance for it to explode, specifically with the guns, but he's hoping it will be reverted soon. The set is pretty meh in overall damage, but it does have its moments. The set is already nerfed a lot, so I don't expect this set to be nerfed again. Excuse my lack of film for this build, as my video corrupted and my friend refused to refilm it, so bug him instead. But this build was previously unrivaled by any build before it got significantly nerfed, but it's still viable in many builds. The main cons to this build is that it doesn't have a lot of range, it knocks you back from your enemies really far away, and it's a heavy weapon. It's pretty high singular target damage and can melt bosses, but you're likely prone to be tossed around from a bunch of bullfrogs. This build will destroy Queen Bee though. It might get nerfed in the future. I don't know. There's one build which I missed, most likely called the Stratostaff set. It is a meta, and the community has made a very good build with the weapon, but it was recently nerfed. The build is public on YouTube, so you can find it there, but there's a reason I cannot advise you on the correct build. Voxl, if you're watching for some reason, I understand you want to nerf some builds to balance out the different weapon types, but from one nerd to another, you must understand that there will always be a meta. Don't underestimate your community to find the meta though. And to the community, I apologize for bringing light to the builds which may or may not become nerfed because of the video, but nothing lasts forever. And the sooner you understand that, and you restart your character, the sooner you'll understand the beauty of Voxlblade. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!